Some time has passed since my last glitch video, which means I have more glitches to show you. Quick reminder, there is a glitch list that covers all glitches that have been found and all glitches that have been patched. So if you're curious if a glitch has been patched, just check out the list, link in description. With the introduction of the new season, there are things that have been added to the map, such as the teleporting sewers. Not all sewers are teleports. A quick way to know if you can teleport onto them is to check if it has a turtle sign. The sewer I'm talking about doesn't. If you go to the northeast cargo ship, at the nose of the ship, you will find a manhole cover. And it's only on this northeast ship. With the manhole cover being here, this speculates that this could have been a teleport spot at one point. Continuing with map-specific glitches, the underground tunnel, if you climb up this wall, you can climb into the ceiling. That's it. Fun fact, did you know that the shop at Hedgemont doesn't have collision underneath the roof? By jumping underneath the roof, the game will just suck you up so you can land on top of the roof. A quick and easy way to get on top is by climbing onto these vending machines and climbing up the wall. Really simple. Also by the Hedgemont shop is the skateway, not my wording. Underneath the skateway you would see a pole. So if you happen to go inside of the skateway, you'll find out that it's actually a stoplight. A useless stoplight that's just there. There is no walkway underneath the bridge. Why is this here? Spoiler alert, it has been hippie flipped. On top of the tri-towers, you'll see a few solar panels. If you try to roll into it, it will slowly try to push you out. But if you go deeper into it and hold an emote, it will push you out while also in the emote. I have tried to see if this works with mani pads and it does not do the same thing. Coming to this parking lot outside of Seaside Park, these parking blocks will throw you off your board if you try to run and get onto your board. You can get something similar if you use the parking block that's within the object dropper, but it's too small to use, so you have to double stack it. Okay, quick shout out to my friend Lavish, who has made these void edits that he made when the game first came out. How he was able to make these videos was by skating on an invisible plane that was underneath the entire map. However, in Season 2, they have removed that plane so you can no longer skate there. Which means, if you jump into the water, get on your board, and open up your toolbox, you could just fall right through the water and fall into the void. If you fall far enough, you can exit out of the toolbox without being affected by the water above. By getting on top of this building, there are a couple objects that have a no touching type texture over the whole thing. Don't know what it means, don't know what it does, it's just weird to look at. This can also be seen by the rocks that are by the shore, at a very high height. Ooh, look, they're red this time. Coming to this anchor by the broken bridge, there is a ledge that if you get onto it a specific way, it will send you to 0-0. But in my case, I just lost all my limbs. Oh my god, where's my hands? With this newly added pool on top of Casper Hotel, there is a diving board. And if you so happen to hand plant underneath the diving board in the correct spot, you will get launched. Another newly added structure to Season 2 is this mega ramp on top of M Corp. Instead of rolling down the ramp, you slide down it, you will eventually get stuck, and then release your slide and you will go to the sky. The longer you hold the slide, the higher you'll get launched upwards. That is all for map-specific glitches. Now it's on to glitches that have been patched. Why show patched glitches? Because it was part of Season 2. There were a couple things broken with the beginning of Season 2, and I would just like to document it. First off, if you go to the appearance, then head over to the skate pass, then view an item in the skate pass, back out, and you would see your board floating behind your character. Other times, if you look at a board, it will be floating underneath your feet as your character starts running. Now this next one was a PC exclusive glitch. If you happen to open up the graphics settings, then back out, every menu screen would just be a transparent menu of your actual gameplay. This also affected edit skaters, so if you went to edit your skater, you would see the underclothing your skater has. This only shows up for you, for other people you were in normal clothing. This also had a side effect with appearances. If you wanted to change your skater will not update for other people. For example, have you noticed that if you put on a costume, your character's arms will go out to the side? Well, here's what it looks like if you put on a costume in that state. On his screen, he is in the bird costume. On our screen, he's just normal. This is also affected by height. If you're in height 3, then go to height 1, you will sink into the ground. Of course, if you get on your board, your feet will go through the board. For the last patch glitch, I'm going to talk about dust. In Season 2, they introduced dust when you fell to the ground. As I'm recording this, there is no more dust. It does not exist. My only speculation is, if you were on PC, you'd crash. Oh my game crashed. No, that's a crash.
That's my game.
That's a crash. So when dust was still around, you were able to do this weird replay glitch. By watching yourself fall over and over again in replay, once you have backed out, the dust would stack, forming a cloud. And that is it for all the new glitches that have been patched. Now on to more goofier stuff. I got it, By sliding and pulling back on your left stick as soon as your skater stands up, your character will do this goofy step, which is what we have named it. It has very specific timing, but it's also worth noting that you can do it out of a runout if you failed your flip trick. Walking in this game is different from all the other skate games, and if you happen to rotate your left stick in a specific pattern, eventually your skater will start walking backwards. Another useless piece of tech is what we call dribbling. By dropping your board, tapping up, and then keep spamming your RB or R1 button, your character will inch forward as it continues to drop and grab back onto its board. Here's something I forgot to mention in my last glitch video. If you hold up left or up right in a nose mani, you will bounce while going down a slope. If you let go of your board and do an emote, your character will bend its back depending on which way you're looking. If the camera is face down, your character will bend downwards. If your character is face up, your character will face upwards. It's just a fun party trick that you can just show off to your friends. Alright, remember how I said you could do backflips or front flips while in a spread eagle? Well, if you're in that state and let go of all your buttons, you have now unlocked spinning. Choose a direction, left or right, it doesn't matter. You just can't flip again. There are certain quarter pipes in the map where you could drop in, cancel it by pulling back down on the left stick, and you will get popped up into the air. Holding a coffin seems to make it happen more often than not. Also, height 3 is required. Speaking about a coffin, you can use the coffin to clip into ceilings by placing a marker, and then going back. Time to celebrate, boys. Invincibility is here. All you have to do is foot plant at the right moment when your board meets the ground in a vertical position. And there is no other invincibility method, which I am not foreshadowing later into this video. Well, let's say that was a little too fast for you. So if you happen to drop in on a corner of a building and pull down on your right stick to get into a crouch position, you can slowly scale down the building at a safe manner. This is totally not dangerous, and you will live every time. Another unintended feature to Season 2, butt sliding. As you're diving, let go of the dive button and roll out by holding one of the triggers. If you time it correctly, you will be sliding on your butt. More Season 2 mechanics, kinda. Swimming! Yes, you can now swim in this game. By holding your right bumper and spamming A or X, you can now swim in the water. They have extended the time you can be in water, which is why this is more enjoyable. Good news, if you played in Height 1 just like me, you can now do double trays on flat. While you're holding your tray flip, right before your character finishes the second tray flip, all you need to do is tap a trigger and your animation for the tray flip will end quite abruptly, landing you the trick. In Skate 1, we have backwards pushing. In Skate 2, we have backwards pushing. In Skate 3, we don't have backwards pushing. But in Skate, we do have backwards pushing. Let's go! First, you need quite a bit of speed. Secondly, you need to get into fakie. Then, hold out a coffin. When you get out of the coffin, you then hold one of your push buttons. And now you are successfully backwards pushing. When you are backwards pushing, I'd like to call it a cruiser state because you do not gain any speed. You're going the speed of what you are without pushing. So eventually you come to a stop. And if you come to a stop while backwards pushing, you then go forwards. However, you might notice that your input directions are different. If you push left, you go right. Push right, you go left. And this is the max pushing speed. You are not going any faster than this. The community parks have a 24-hour time limit before it changes to the next park. If you so happen to hit a clip before it changes, and then open up your replay as the park is changed, you'd notice your position would have stayed the same, but the park around you is completely different. In Season 2, there is a new section on the object dropper, which is just a bunch of bouncy inflatables. And with the bouncy inflatables comes hilarious glitches. The first thing I'd like to point out is that you can delay your bounce by simply opening up your toolbox. If you open it up and exit out, you then bounce afterwards. Many of you may have come across this on your own, but you can start infinitely rolling at the edge of an inflatable. There's two ways of doing it. One is by getting somewhat close to the inflatable and then simply start rolling. Two is by standing on top of the inflatable, roll, stop rolling, and then roll again. You would want to let go of the trigger once you hear the first bounce, and then hold it again. Now, I've been lying to you guys, this does not work only on inflatables. It does in fact work on anything bouncy, so going to any hot dog stand where there's a bouncy umbrella does do the same thing. It is also worth noting that if you get on your board mid-infinite roll, you will fall through the map. The second thing about inflatables is that you can do this. There are multiple ways to get into this rapid hop state. One is by doing a quick little B press right before you hit the mat. 2 is by front flipping or back flipping into it, or 3, putting a mani pad right in front of it and landing on the mani pad and then walking onto the mat. While you're in this rapid hop state, tapping a trigger mid-roll might slow down your animation of rolling out. You can also hold the slide button, which will make you infinitely slide as long as there are more inflatables to slide over. While it is really hard to do, you can control the direction of where you bounce by moving your left stick left, right, up, or down. Last thing about inflatables, if you foot plant into one, you can get bounced into the air. And I also had this happen to me, which I don't know how to recreate. So, anyone would like to give this a shot? Please do so. Now for a glitch that the Weeknd would approve of by being blinded by the light. By using the Gabber Dance emote, a light starts forming around your skater. And if you hold it long enough, you can then exit out of the emote and that light will stay there. You can even get on your board and do tricks and the light will still follow you. The longer you hold the emote, the brighter you get. And with the brighter you get, doing backflips or front flips, the light will start to fan out and give everyone a light show. If you're on PC and enable dynamic lighting and getting into a shadowy area, you'll just be aura farming around everyone else. Now here's the sad part. You cannot see yourself light up. The light does not appear on your screen, it appears on other people's screens. But it's only affected by the people who were around you while you were doing the emote. If you were to teleport somewhere across the map and teleport back, their light is gone. Same can be said the opposite way. If a person is bright, teleports away, then teleports back, their light is gone as well. And if you think you can get away from glowing skaters by disabling them in the replay filter, that does not work because their light still stays there. If anyone has any questions on how this will affect the performance of your game, this might answer it. Oh my god, when I get into the light, my frames drop. Additionally, when you're mid-emote and you decide to change your height, your character's height will not be affected while in the menu. By staying in the menu and changing your height, you can clearly see that Lavish's height changed, but his character didn't. Now, if you're wondering if there are any other emotes that still have the effects that stay when you're walking around, there were 2 emotes that used to do that. Yes, were, because these 2 emotes are now patched. By holding both of these emotes for a long time, you'll get trails that'll follow your hands and feet. And I really wish it wasn't patched because it looks really dope when you're skating around. Ayo, new cosmetic idea, full circle, please, thank you. Okay, so when it comes to the aura farming emote, they released patch notes today, as of the 19th, and they might have patched it coming the 20th, so I don't know until it happens. By placing a throwdown and shrinking the playable area size to the smallest that it could go, you can actually use the wall around you to infinitely well run. You just have to hold your left stick at a certain position and keep spamming the jump button to jump back into the wall. The max a throwdown timer can be is 5 minutes, and within those 5 minutes, I managed to almost scale to the height of M-Corp. Maybe you can do it faster. So remember when I showed off swimming? Well, there's more to it. Introducing a way to stay inside the water forever, theoretically. In this clip, you can clearly see I should have respawned by now, but thanks to a simple maneuver, I have reset the water timer, and by doing so come some weird effects. When you jump into the water, you would want to float on your back, so your waist points to the sky when holding a spread eagle. The spread eagle is crucial to this trick. When holding your spread eagle, you want to hold up or down on your left stick. Doing so, you might see a splash happen again, even though you never jumped into the water. That splash indicates that your timer has been reset. A consistent method we found is when you jump into the water and start rising up, that's when you hold your spread eagle and a directional input. With different timings, you may sink into the water or rise above into the air. Sometimes you can get shot down, but come right back up. Or when you get shot up and your character gets up, you hold a trigger and get shot right back down. I also had this happen to me and I don't know how to recreate it. Are you ever in a situation where you're just playing the game and someone else's object is in front of you, messing up your line? Instead of going up to the object and disabling the collision, why don't you just give them a big middle finger by deleting their object instead? As long as that person gave the ability of other people to mess with their objects, you could simply select it and immediately back out, which will delete their object. Sticking with objects, placing this pole on the ground and hippie jumping at the right possible time, your hippie jump will be a lot higher than usual. If you were to place a plywood right by a curb and have auto curb hop enabled, you could hold down on your right stick where it would auto hop and give you speed. Now if you get another piece of plywood and put it on top of the curb so it barely is sticking out, you won't have to hold down your stick, your character will just auto hop on its own and give you speed. This also could work on a mani pad setup. Somehow in Season 2, they seem to have messed up hippie jumping. If you were to hippie jump, spin, while holding a trigger, you'd notice your camera violently shakes. If you were to happen to trigger a bail while the camera violently shakes, you will get tossed to the side. In a previous glitch video, I have covered this one glitch where you backflip, get on your board, land nose heavy on a grindable surface, and then your skater just takes off in a forward direction. Well, this can also happen on handrails. The rail has to be at a steep enough angle for it to work, but you have to spread eagle and get on your board right before you touch the rail. If you happen to open up any menu, you'd notice you'd go forward. However, if you were to just hold B or circle, you can choose when you go forward. As long as you're holding that button, you will go in a forward direction. You can also set it up anywhere by using pull jams. With the introduction of the revamped hand plants, have you noticed that sometimes you just zip right into a hand plant? Well, if you happen to bail during that zip, you can get a small hand plant launch. More hand plant shenanigans. If you happen to no comply into a hand plant, you can get a really weird animation. On day 1 of Season 2, a new hand plant bounce was discovered. By riding up the quarter pipe holding one of the triggers, then going into a hand plant, you can click either A or X to do a 1-foot hand plant, which will bounce you up in the air. The key is to select one of those buttons when you're completely vertical, not as you're getting into the hand plant. You can even turn this into a pretty good speed glitch if you were to place a mani pad on top of the quarter pipe to where it would squeeze you outwards. Probably the most used glitch is the tuck knee foot plant bounce. Well, as I've mentioned in a previous video, you can also do this with a tailbone grab. And if you're to tailbone grab a foot plant at a base of a quarter pipe, it can send you a certain direction. Where to do the foot plant varies on the size of the quarter pipe. You just have to keep messing where you have to land, and eventually you will get shot out. I'm going to assume you're familiar with the slingshot glitch. If you haven't seen it before, I have a video covering it. Previously, we've only been able to do it off of ramps. Now, it has been discovered on how to do it on quarter pipes. When going up the quarter pipe, you want to revert and get off your board. Now, if you revert clockwise, you want to hold your left stick to the left. And if you revert counterclockwise, you want to hold your left stick to the right. Holding those positions will get your skater over the deck. Now that I'm over the quarter pipe, I could start spamming the get on your board button, which should launch you if you have the right amount of air. Now, a couple things about the newly installed features within the map, starting with the reposition ramps. If you were to place a marker on one of the ramps while it's down, and then open up the ramp and go back to your marker, it's possible for your board to clip into the ramp and act like a snowboard. Perpetual motion achieved. Let's go.
Yo, you discovered perpetual motion. Let's go.
In Season 2, you can no longer do this hippie jump spam spin maneuver, but there is a method only while jumping in place. First you jump, tap your right bumper, hold a trigger, and then move your left stick, left, right, up, down, don't matter, you will start spazzing out. Now, if you were to do this on an air vent while staying still and doing the same button inputs, you can see the extended spasm continue as long as you're in the air. Fun fact about air vents, did you know that the uplift extends below the air vent as well? If you happen to be underneath an air vent, it will drag you all the way up into the ceiling. There is no indicator of where the uplift is, you just kind of have to figure it out. The sad news about it, it doesn't work when you're on your board. However, your flip tricks will start looking a little bit weird. In a previous glitch video, I've showed off that you can do a double jump while on your board. This only works when you pop another trick going over a grindable surface. But do you know what's also grindable? Stairs. If you were to enable quick ollies, then short hop up the stairs, start spamming down on your right stick to do the quick ollies, you can fly up the stairs. Oh, a pretty technical way in getting really high air is what has been called the slicks plant. There are two methods of getting this plant to work. First, you need to find a decently high ledge. Then you can either no comply into the wall, then do a bean plant out, or two, wally into the wall and do a bean plant out. Your choice. Talking about high air, let's go even higher. If you were to place a marker somewhat upside down, by placing it mid-flip trick, then going back to your marker and allowing yourself to clip into the ground for a brief moment, you can then get off your board and get launched into the air. Using this launch glitch, it could send you up pretty high. So high, in fact, that you can go above Amcorp Tower. Oh! No way I landed that! Before I move on to the last few glitches, I just like to show off this clip because I don't know how to recreate it without a ridiculous setup. Oh! Grabbing a board with no board, truly a trick of all time. If you were to hippie jump through this rail, it would zip you back. But sometimes if you were to hippie jump through the rail, you would get launched into the air. Now this may seem spot specific, but by setting up your own objects on a high ledge, you can hippie jump through it and still get zipped back to where you hippie jumped. What this glitch actually is an object zip glitch, which I've shown in a previous video. If you place two objects close enough to where you can't walk through it, and then jump out and slide, you'll get zipped right back to where you were. So with this hippie jump knowledge, can I get far enough to where I launch myself out of the map? If you happen to set it up on a tall building like M-Corp, you do not get zipped back, your camera just shakes. So there actually is a threshold to how far away you can jump away from the objects. But with the setup I've made, I can't get launched. That is, if I bail at the right time. When your character gets really close to the ground, it wants to zip back. When it zips back, that's when you bail, and that's when you go into the sky. But having to time a bail when the game zips you back on its own is hard to time. So, just make the game zip you back when you want to. By holding one of the triggers as you jump through the objects and letting go, right when you let go is when you zip back, and then you can properly time a bail. So with this knowledge, it doesn't even have to be on a high ledge anymore, you can create your own setup on flat. When you make your own setup, you have to place something that will stop your board. If it's not there, your character will just jump back onto the board. It's also worth mentioning that if you hold one of the triggers and touch one of the objects, it naturally pushes you back without having to time any bail. There's even more to this, because you could do it without the hippie jump. This method right here requires you to spread eagle and let go of the spread eagle right before you hit the ground, which causes the rollout and launches you. Because you're rolling out on a slope, it only works in height 3. On height 1 and 2, you just zip back, no launching. But if you were to set it up on flat, all heights will get launched backwards. For some bonus fun, setting up a kicker ramp will make you soar above the buildings. And as I'm making this video, this glitch simply improves by getting off your board. So you can still use a hippie jump method, it's just not the best way to do it. The easiest method is just to spread eagle, then get on your board. But the speed doesn't come till you get off your board afterwards. By timing when you get off your board, you can either get shot straight down or go straight into the sky. But there's way more to it than that. What if I told you you can delay it while riding on your board? Which means gapping is totally back, baby. This is like the Turkey 2.0. And just like before, depending on when you get off your board, you either get shot backwards, straight across, and sometimes upwards. Let's say you don't pop a trick, but get off your board right as you exit the ramp. That will launch you either straight up or out of the map as if you were to just done a slingshot glitch. Actually, you don't even need a ramp, you can simply roll off a ledge and get off the board. Big launches aside, because you really can't use that for gapping, you actually don't even need to place a ramp. You could just ollie on flat and still get off your board and get sent across the map. This clip here is an exception, you usually don't go this far. I just happened to get a really good one. There is one rule to this, it does not work on flat. When you are on your board, there is a timer for when you can ollie and get off your board to launch yourself. If that timer runs out, you are not going anywhere. But you can increase or decrease that timer depending on your setup. And the timer on your board is dictated by how long you were in the air before you got back on your board. As an example, I have a setup on top of the mega ramp at the stadium. Because I was in the air so long, I'm able to ride across the ground and still ramp off the stadium ramp and launch myself. Now I have a setup on top of the Hedgemont shop, and I roll all the way down to ramp off of this middle section and not go anywhere because the time in air wasn't as long as I was on the ground. And if you were to hippie jump, you would only go as high as you were when you first started that spread eagle. The only exception to this is if you were to jump off a really high building, like I did with M-Corp, and then do a hippie jump that will actually launch me. This next glitch requires you to have auto caveman enabled. By rolling off the ledge and getting on your board, you'll get bounced upwards, but by getting on your board again, you'll do a double jump. But that's not all. If you get on your board going off a ledge or curb, your skater will auto caveman hop and get on its board. So with this in mind, if you go back to marker right after you do a caveman, you have stored the hop, so anytime you get on your board, you do a double jump. While the hop is stored, do not get on your board. If you get on your board and start rolling away, you no longer have the hop. So you would want to jump off buildings and then get on your board at any time you choose, because all falling speed is negated. Now onto the glitch that I totally did not foreshadow in the middle of this video, where you totally are not invincible, but you can land at any drop you want if you time a perfectly good foot plant. There's more to it than that. To break down the glitch, this is a judo grab. This is what it should look like. Now, if you do that grab on flat, you should be able to do a judo foot plant. But if you try it right now, your judo foot plants may look like this. This is not a judo foot plant. I am holding the same buttons and it's not doing the judo foot plant. To get the judo foot plant to show up, you have to do a judo air. And if you keep holding the judo, the game will then judo plant. Now you can do judo plants on flat. Quick disclaimer, if you have short air, your character will pull out the judo but won't land in a judo plant, thus not being in the judo foot plant state. But you can still get into that state if you fall from a high height and bail. Now that you're in the judo foot plant state, to land from any height, you land in a fast plant. If you have forward momentum, you might want to pull out the foot plant a little bit earlier. Because this is a state, that means you can get out of the state, and you can no longer do judo foot plants. By staying in the judo foot plant state, you make sure you don't do 1 foot air grabs or no foot air grabs. Tail walks, air walks, Christ airs, no foot airs, you get it. Holding out any of those grabs will put you out of the foot plant state. Now that I have showed you can land any gap possible, here is the farthest gap ever hit in Skate, and I would like to challenge you guys to beat it. So until next time, thanks for watching. Wait. Yep, I'm taking that.